Hello, y'all. I'm on my solitary amble, nocturnal solitary amble, and I want to reflect on another a piece of media that I've seen recently that also causes me to reflect on the idea, the notion of fame and celebrity, and what exactly are the circumstances that bring those things about, and is it ever just something that happens, or are those who ascend to celebrity status, are they more or less chosen? There's a documentary on Netflix now called Sly, and it's about Sylvester Stallone. And it's kind of interesting. It's no Hearts of Darkness. That's the standard against which I measure, documentaries. Hearts of Darkness is unsurpassed in my view, and you can see it for free now on YouTube. But nevertheless, it was kind of interesting, and one of the most interesting things about it is the way that Sly himself is, his personality. It's a bit surprising because he is actually very smart, very articulate, and loves to talk. He loves to talk. I mean, he has no problem at all opening up about his life, about his ideas. He's not the sort of quiet, dull, taciturn type of character that you would kind of expect him to be from the characters that he's best known for playing. I mean, I guess Rocky can be talkative, and he can even be kind of witty and even kind of observant in his own way. But he's not intellectual by any stretch. But Sly he's a smart guy, and of course nothing like Rambo, who just barely says a word. He just scowls and looks angry. And so forth. So just the kind of strong, silent types that he is generally best known for playing, or I guess Rambo is that, and Rocky is maybe not so silent. But anyway, that's the most surprising thing about Sly Stallone. From this documentary. Now, the movie is all about his ascension to fame and the route that he took to get there. But there are certain crucial details that are left out. There's no, you have to pay attention to notice this, but there's really no connecting the dots. Because at one moment, he's just this desperate young man, high school dropout. But maybe not. Maybe he ended up finishing high school because he took some college acting classes, he says. So maybe, I don't know. It seemed like he just was never much for school. Was always getting in trouble. Had a terrible relationship with his father. With both of his parents, but especially with his father. His father, who just seemed like a tyrant, just like a terrible, mean, awful, abusive man. But at some point along the way, he gets this idea. He wants to make it in the biz, and he writes. I knew the stories about Rocky. How the script for Rocky was finished. I think Sly found someone to collaborate with. So that's the first thing that doesn't exactly get explained, because the way he tells it, he goes to New York at first and is just going around, you know, shopping his headshots, you know, trying desperately to find a way in, and he's just getting turned down left and right. Nobody cares. But then he's suddenly got this connection within the biz. That's not explained. How did that happen? And I also, it's also funny because I know that this is not mentioned at all in the documentary, but I know that in his early days, Sly did some exotic filmmaking. Let's just say. I think that's an open secret. I don't think I'm gossiping here in sharing that, but that's not mentioned at all in the movie. But I mean, he was a big, strong, muscle-bound, you know, big working class. You know, he's like, you know, you can see why directors of those kinds of that kind of fare would look at him and say, yeah, he could work for what I have in mind. And by the way, he's still in fantastic shape, no homo. But I mean, he's like, I don't know, in his mid-70s now, something like that. And it looks great. And I don't know, when you're old, like me, I'm not as old as he is, but when you're old, there's a weird kind of inspiration that you get from seeing somebody who's even older than you who looks really good. Of course, he's a big, rich Hollywood celebrity. He's probably had a lot of help. I mean, he's probably had some work done. So I'm guessing, because, you know, he also battered himself, or he got pretty battered with all the roles that he was playing, where he was basically a punching bag. So you know, to sort of look semi-decent, he had to have had some work done. But if he has had work, it looks good. Like, I mean, not to be mean. I'm sorry if this sounds mean. I really don't mean it to sound that way. But Courtney Cox, when you see her, how she looks now, or maybe she had this corrected. I hope she has. But when I saw her in like the new Scream, like cash grab, where they're trying to make Scream for a new generation, and she shows up as one of the people from the old cast, and you barely recognize, like her face is just, you know, it's unfortunate. I'll just say that. Sly doesn't look that way. He doesn't look. You don't look at him and think, yep, I can see what they did. I can see how they gave him a little bit of a nose job there. I can see how they firmed up his cheekbones, or whatever the hell they do. I don't even know. So anyway, that's getting off on a tangent. But he still looks great. And, you know, all of his faculties are there. His mind's working perfectly. So that's always fun to see. That's always nice to see. But again, going back to my what I was reflecting on earlier, there's no real connection of the dots. How Sly went from obscurity to having an in the biz, having people actually pay attention to him. Like, he was able to sell the script for Rocky, which he wrote in this burst of creativity, while supposedly sitting in some dilapidated shed, in some crappy neighborhood in East Los Angeles. He moved to the left coast then. I don't know who, like, I don't know what that was all about, or what persuaded him to do that. I mean, he was an East Coast guy, but I guess, you want to make it in the biz, you go to LA. So he was able to sell his script. Like, I mean, I don't care. I don't care how good your script is. I'm telling you that if you or whoever I'm talking to, whoever's watching this, if you or me or any of the people we know just wrote an amazing script and then tried to shop it around in Hollywood, it would get completely ignored, no matter how good it was, because we're not known there. We have no in there. I'm guessing. Maybe I'm talking to somebody who's got Hollywood connections, but probably not. So somehow he got his script noticed, and like some group was willing to buy it up from him for a goodly amount of money, like $5,000, something like that, which in the mid 70s, I mean, that's $2 billion now. I'm exaggerating a little, but not much. And he said, no, I don't want to sell it to you, because if I sell it to you, then I don't control it anymore, and you're going to cast somebody else in it, and I'm Rocky. I want to be Rocky. I want to play the role of Rocky. So that was this really gutsy call that he made, and props to him for doing it. And the point the movie what the movie is impressing upon us, or what Sly is impressing upon us in the movie, what becomes a pattern, is that he does all these things because he wants to prove something to his dad. His dad, who always treated him shabbily, never was good to him, and saw him as competition. It just sounds like an awful relationship with his father. Like after Rocky got made, then his dad wanted to write a script about a boxer too. He just couldn't be happy for his son and his success. That's something, as a father, I cannot understand. I cannot relate to. If either one of my kids, I mean, if they do anything, they don't have to become big stars. They do something that's worthy of praise, and I'm proud of them. But not Sly's dad, not Mr. Stallone. Anyhow, so he decided he was going to do his own thing. He wasn't going to sell the script. He was going to keep it and have himself be the star, even though he wasn't that well known at the time. Now he'd been on like a few things as an extra. He'd been in I think at this point he had been in The Lords of Flatbush, which is an underrated movie from this time period. Kind of a cinema verite, slice of life movie about this gang, this greaser gang in the 50s, with him and Henry Winkler before he was the Fonz, and I don't know, a couple other guys. So already it wasn't like he was nobody. He was already somebody. But the movie kind of tried to pull the wool over our eyes and tried to make it seem like, oh yeah, he was just some desperate, starving artist, trying desperately to get to become known. He was known. He had connections. He knew Henry Winkler, who became the Fonz not long after that, and who in real life is this really nerdy Jewish guy. It's kind of funny. Like he's known for playing the Fonz. His actual personality is like the very opposite of the Fonz. He's just a total nerd. But so the movie just tries to play sleight of hand with us in these different ways. And I'm making it sound more devious. It is devious, but it's like, it's not that, you know, if you're just watching it, if you're just sort of following along, you wouldn't even notice. I mean, I probably wouldn't have noticed if I weren't looking for it. If this whole question of how do people become famous hadn't recently become a kind of obsession for me, or at least an interest, something that I'm intensely interested in. So, go ahead. So Sly's going to direct the movie, or he's going to make the movie all on his own. He doesn't direct it. There's John Avildsen, I think, is the director of the first Rocky. Stallone directed all the subsequent ones. But he's going to do it himself, and we think this is a really gutsy thing, and it is a gutsy thing. I mean, he turned down a sure thing, which is the riches that he would have gotten from selling the script. In this, you can see it as egotistical, you can see it as ballsy. It's a little bit of both. Thinking that he should be the one playing this character. You gotta be a little cocky to think that. But when Rocky comes together, when it materializes, he's able to get people like Burgess Meredith and I don't know, Burgess Meredith is I guess the biggest name in it. He was an established actor who plays Mickey, his coach, or the man who becomes his coach. But he gets connected with all these people who maybe aren't like famous, but they're connected to the biz. That it's not like he has to just go and get a bunch of nobodies and it's not like the Blair Witch Project where it's just three nobodies filming themselves with cheap video camera, if that's really the whole story behind Blair Witch Project. That's what they say it is, but I don't trust anything anybody tells me anymore about anything like that. But okay, if we choose to just to buy the mainstream narrative, which is probably true about the making of Blair Witch, I'm guessing, but I don't know for sure. I reserve the right to be skeptical about it, just the same way I reserve the right to be skeptical about everything that we are told. So it's not like that. I mean, he's got a director who's experienced. He's got a cast who know their way around, who can act. He may not have like tons and tons of money, but he's got a good budget. And this was at a time when mid-budget movies were still a thing. Star Wars was basically around the same time as Rocky, maybe a little bit afterwards. It was a mid-budget movie. It's not like today when everything has to be, like when the studios just figure, we've got to just throw hundreds of millions of dollars at a movie if we want it to be successful. They didn't have that mentality back then. Plus, the dollar was worth a lot more back then. But anyway, the point is, he's already a star. I mean, after Rocky, and it's like they built all this tension. Are people going to like Rocky? Is it going to be a hit? Is it going to flop? If it flops, then he's done. And and of course, as we know, Rocky is a big hit, and people love it, and it catapults Stallone into superstardom. But the movie would have you think that he was just a nobody when he made Rocky, and if the movie hadn't been a hit, that he would have stayed a nobody. But because the movie was a hit, he became a somebody, and that's absolutely not true. He had connections by that time, and that's where the movie is dishonest with us. It glides over certain things, and I'm not saying, like, we can suspect the worst. And when it comes to Hollywood stars, you know, I've come to suspect the worst, you know. And God, I really don't want to think that my hero, my director hero, Martin Scorsese, you know, my idol, you know, back in my college years when I was seriously thinking of going to film school, I don't like to think of him, you know, compromising on the way to his horizon. The shorthand in that Glenn Campbell song, which could mean any number of things, of course, from relatively harmless things to definitely bad things. So what did he do? What did he do to, I mean, like I said, he took part in some exotic films, and I'm being euphemistic here. I don't know why I'm being so cautious, but I just feel a little paranoid. I think I'm rightly paranoid here on this fucking stupid this censor happy platform. But you know, did he, you know, service somebody or some people? And that's how they decided to, you know, give him a little more leeway, a little more influence. You know, did he sacrifice somebody? I'm not remembering from the movie any details about anyone in his family dying untimely deaths, you know, during the 70s when he was rising to stardom. Like we hear so often for so many stars of screen and the music biz, and even, you know, even sports. I just, you know, I know I'm rambling here, but I just can't buy that Michael Jordan's father just died in a freak, you know, just a shooting. He was just in the wrong place at the wrong time. He just pulled over to the side of the road and decided to take a rest, and then some thugs came upon him and shot him dead. That's just really weird. What are the chances? What are the chances of that happening? I'm not alleging anything, but I'm just offering my skepticism, which I am allowed to do. And don't let anybody tell you that you're not allowed to be skeptical, because you are. Don't let anybody tell you that you're being a paranoid freak, or that you're a schizo. I mean, they'll tell you that. They'll call you those things, but don't let that faze you. Because you know when something kind of looks a little strange. We all know that. We have common sense. So, anyway, getting back to Stallone, the movie, which claims to be about, you know, how Stallone scratched and clawed his way into the biz and into fame, you know, through sheer force of will. I think that's substantially true. I do get the impression that he was somebody who was very determined and, you know, had an iron will and was just going to keep scratching and clawing away. I can easily see that. You see that. You see that quality in him. But at the same time, like I said, certain things are just skipped over. We don't know, how did he get access to this guy he wrote, he was collaborating with, the guy he wrote Rocky, I think, in collaboration with. How did he, what happened? What are they not telling us in this documentary, where it seems like the whole thing is for Stallone to just be very confessional and like really open up about everything. Come to think of it, there are certain things we don't hear. We don't hear anything about his sex life. I don't know what the deal is. I don't think he's just been married to one woman. But that's not whatever the details are there. That's not in this movie. So, and it's not necessarily relevant. I mean, maybe it is. And if his story involves, like he does make reference to, to the movie's credit and to Stallone's credit, he does make reference to how he wound up doing to his own children in some ways what his own father did to him, which is not to say that, he wasn't this cruel, abusive bastard to his children, but he wasn't in their lives enough. He was just pushing, he was just following his egoic dreams of becoming the superstar and becoming super jacked. Like, that was a thing that they do refer to, how in the 80s, how there got to be this competition between Stallone and Schwarzenegger, and how they wanted to, like, they tried to outdo each other all the time, and tried to get bigger muscles and fight with bigger guns, and have more impressive explosions and all this sort of stuff. All that stuff related to 80s movies was rooted in ego. So Stallone does admit, and he this is a part of what happened in Rocky V, which is a far lesser scene of the Rocky movies, but that involves him and his son, and he casts his own son as Rocky Balboa's son, and he shows how he neglects his son in that movie because he's obsessed with, getting back his old glory through this new boxer that he's met, this Tommy guy, and how so there's this confessional moment there, certainly, but there are just a lot of gaps in the story, and there are a lot of missing links, just like they all expect us to buy into the evolution story, but there's so many missing links. Oh, that's inconvenient. We just can't find this link. We know it's there somewhere. We just can't find it in the fossil record. But we know it must be there somewhere because we know our theory must be true. And I know I've just alienated a bunch of people who who take Darwinian evolution as gospel, but I don't care. I don't give a shit. I don't care. I'm old. I say what I want. Most of the time. Just 10 minutes ago, I was remarking on how I was feeling so timid here. But I guess it comes and goes. Anyway, this is even more rambling than usual. Those are my thoughts on the movie Sly. Any of y'all seen it? Did any of you see it? Do you have any thoughts of your own to add to my to my semi-rambling thoughts here on this nocturnal amble in the dark. Thanks for watching.